It is 9:30, market open, time for our first presentation of the day. And for our first speaker, we're going to be hearing from Jeff Kendrick, the CEO and co-founder of CEMATRIX. So can we go ahead and bring Jeff on here? Let's get it started. Jeff, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Very good this morning. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. Jeff, it's the market open. It's day 2 of the small cap conference, and you are our kickoff speaker today. So Jeff, I'm going to let you have the floor. Go ahead and take it away. Get us started.
Thank you, both of you guys. Of course, we're not in the used car market, but we are in another hot market, and that is infrastructure construction. So let me tell you a little bit about CEMATRIX. We're traded on the TSX Venture Exchange, and we're also on the OTC markets and looking at going on the big board in Canada soon, and then maybe moving to the NASDAQ in a few years. So let me just go to the screen here. I'm going to start in slides 3, who we are. We're an on-site manufacturer and installer of cellular concrete. We use a number of proprietary technologies to produce a material that provides construction solutions that are more cost-effective than the materials that we replace. We use technically advanced, specialized premium construction material that is generally greener and more environmentally friendly than a lot of the products we replace. And because we're in the infrastructure construction space, we're looking at backfill of overpasses, bridges, backfill of MSC panels and tunnels. We're the base support for highways, runways, and facilities that are constructed over weak and unstable, frost-prone or seismic-prone soils. So a huge number of applications in our space. Key investor consideration, of course, we're one of the world leaders in this technology. We're the North American leader in the on-site manufacturing placement of this material. And this is one of the fastest growing construction materials markets in the world. We've been growing both organically and through strategic acquisition. And we produce a material that is more cost effective and generally more environmentally friendly than all of the legacy products that we replace. Just recently, we were awarded 2 most significant projects in our space. The last one in December of 2020. It's a $30 million tunnel project, or a 23 US project that is larger than last year's sales. And that's important because you know where this market is going. We're still early stage and it's starting to grow. So we're seeing the number of large projects and large contracts like this growing every day. Because we use a significant amount of cement in our product, we have a strategic alliance with the largest cement company in the world, that being LafargeHolcim. Won't spend a lot of time on the ESG side, but just to say that since the beginning of our company in the early 2000s, we've been focused on ESG, particularly on the environmental side. So this is nothing new to our company. A little bit more about the Lafarge relationship. Of course, we use a significant amount of cement in our material. They don't make or break our company, but they provide us with credibility in the marketplace, really strong materials pricing, great terms on payment, and they also refer projects on a regular basis. And what's important about Lafarge now and a lot of the cement companies, they're all moving towards going to zero emissions by 2050, and they're really focused on the savings, the CO2 in their space. So what is cellular concrete? First of all, we never replace regular concrete. So we take a ready mix concrete, take all the sand and gravel out, replace it with a microscopic air bubble system. By doing that, we create a material that is lightweight, insulating with high strength, self-leveling, highly flowable, energy absorbing, excellent freeze-thaw resistance, and there's many other benefits. And how do we make it? We make it on site through mobile batch plants. We have 10 of these large batch plants that can produce up to 250 cubic meters an hour, 8 batch plants that can do up to 100 cubic meters an hour. And what's important about our capacity is that after the 2 US acquisitions, we have 2.5 million cubic yards of seasonally adjusted production capacity that can produce 175 million in sales without adding another shift or another piece of equipment. And last year we did 26 million in sales, and that's Canadian, of course. With numerous proprietary technologies, we don't patent them because most of them relate to formulas. These include advanced material mix designs, foaming agents, additives, processing equipment, and we're in spaces in our space that where nobody else is because we have technology that we've developed beyond all of our competition. As mentioned earlier, we're greener and more sustainable than some of the products that we replace. One of the big areas is that we replace things like styrofoams and rigid insulations, And these are what we call single-use plastics. It's not replacing straws, but if you can think of 1 cubic meter of rigid insulation, that'd be worth millions and millions of straws. So we're replacing them, and they don't break down in landfills when they go in there. Where our material is 80% air, we can break it up to 20% of its size, and then reuse the powder in future applications. What do we replace? Again, we don't replace regular concrete, so we never compete against the cement companies. We replace EPS blocks, those large styrofoam blocks you see in the bottom left-hand corner, 4x8 sheets of rigid insulation, particularly the blue insulation or industrial insulation. Expanded clays or other lightweight aggregates, weakened and stable soils, and expensive steel and concrete pile construction. And why do we replace them? It's because we're a better overall long-term solution, better structurally, and time of construction is usually 10% of the time it takes to use some other material. What is our competitive advantage? We save time, money, generally reduce greenhouse gas emissions, provide a better overall long-term solution to the legacy products we replace. And one of the examples of a project we did, this is a road that went in between, or a highway between 2 wetlands. Traditional construction would have required sheet piling down both sides, digging out 5 to 10 meters of peat. Using our material, we just built a floating base over top of it and had the road construction back, or the road back in service in 2 weeks versus 2 months. At 40% less costs, 25% less emissions, 70% less excavation volume, and 75% less truck traffic. So you can imagine extrapolating this 600-meter section or 750-yard section over 10 miles of highway. Significant amount of savings in not only costs, but also emissions, and getting those roads back in service significantly earlier than using traditional construction. Why is this such a significant opportunity? We're in 3 billion-dollar business verticals. The first being infrastructure, including roads, runways, MSC panel backfill, overpass backfill, tunnel grouting. The middle section, industrial and mining, which is the oil and gas construction area where we originally started our business. That's starting to come back for us. But in the mining area, we've barely touched, and that's a huge market for us in the future as well. And then there's the commercial and seismic. I'll only mention seismic. So anywhere they're building construction or infrastructure in seismic-prone areas like California, all of that infrastructure is being underlaid with cellular concrete because it is lighter than water. So if the soil should liquefy in a major earthquake and it's designed properly by engineers, it would tend to keep that infrastructure in place and also save lives as well. For our customers, not a traditional sales situation. We educate the engineering world, particularly geotechnical engineers. They design the specifications. They go into tenders and go into contracts, go to the GCs. The general contractors call us for a price. In Canada, because we're the only large volume supplier, they call us and send us the contract. In the US, there are really only 2 major competitors across the US. They're both located in California, and only really one that competes across the US with us right now. Growth strategy, I won't talk about all of this, but I'll just focus on the regional expansion and mergers and acquisitions. We raised $23 million last winter during COVID. We're in the process of looking at regionally expansion, particularly down into the Southwest, the Gulf states, and into the Southwest US as well. We will do that through organic expansion, but also through mergers and acquisitions as well. And in that space of acquisitions, we're not only looking at complementary cellular concrete companies, but companies that with complementary products or other environmentally friendly products that we can sell through our sales function or our sales group. I won't spend time about the 2 acquisitions in the US that we made, but just to say that over the past couple of years, we acquired 2 of the 4 leading suppliers in the US, that being Mix On Site out of Chicago and Pacific International Grout out of Bellingham, Washington. This is a slide is a history of our experience over the 20 years that we've been in business, and really it's been a history of endurance. The 2008 financial crisis almost killed us because we were entirely in the oil and gas construction market, and all of our sales disappeared overnight. We started a business all over again in the infrastructure market, and of course now we're facing the COVID situation. So we faced a lot of trials and tribulations, and although COVID continues to affect us now, we continue to grow, continue to remain strong, but we are seeing reduced sales, no loss of sales, But again, until the COVID situation ends, we expect to happen by the end of this year. And we'll get back in that exponential organic growth in 2022 and beyond. Financials, we're doing projects anywhere from $5,000 to $30 million. Generally, the projects can be 1 day to, a few months to, 6 months or years. Margins, once we get up over that break-even levels, you generally get up to the 30% level, as been proven by all three companies before the COVID situation happened. And we expect to be back into that level in 2022. We haven't been giving any guidance for 2021, and largely because of the COVID situation. You can see that our pipeline has been growing significantly. It's now, at the end of the year, was at 81.5 million, and last year we did 26.6. Now, the latest news release, our pipeline is actually up over $90 million. Sales, we're not giving guidance to the end of the year. Next year, we should do in excess of 30 million. We could do in excess of 40 million. We're a little gun shy, as most people are, because of the COVID, and that it continues to exist in the marketplace. Again, we haven't lost any sales, but we see our sales or our projects being delayed by our customers. They're having trouble getting their work in the ground, and it's affecting when we get our work into the ground. Capital structure, we have 132.9 million shares outstanding, 175 million fully diluted. We got very little debt. We got $20 million in the bank, and we're ready to grow. Very strong, experienced management team, including the two leaders of the companies that we acquired in the US. They continue to remain with us. Also, a great group of board of directors. We've added another individual since this slide has been prepared. That's John Kim out of Toronto. That's with another couple of big, well-known public companies in Canada. And he's adding a tremendous amount of public company experience and investment banking experience as well. Quickly, our investment summary. We're one of the fastest growing construction material markets in the world today. We're the world leader in this technology, the North American leading supplier. We have state-of-the-art equipment, foaming agents, and other proprietary technologies where we produce a material that's generally cleaner for the environment. We're looking significant growth opportunities in this lucrative infrastructure market, even without the $1 trillion of spending that Biden expects to move forward this year. It will benefit us, but we don't include it in our forecast until it actually really happens. We have a strong bid pipeline of over $415 million, a backlog of over $91.2 million. That's starting to go into the ground now. In 2022, we'll see a significant amount of that go into the ground. And then finally, because of the relationship that we have in the cement side, we have a strategic alliance with the largest cement company in the world, and we're growing other strategic alliances as well and continue to grow this business. We're looking at a very strong 2022 and beyond, and we look forward to continuing to work with Benzinga and all of you in this space in the future. Thank you for your time today.
All right, awesome, Jeff. A couple of questions actually from our chat that we'd like to run through. Patent protected material and process. Can you give us any insight into that? And also any partnerships or exclusive deals with any developers?
Sorry, what was the first question? I missed that.
Oh, the patent protected material and process. Do you have any kind of insight into anything that's patent protected that you guys are working on as far as your materials?
Oh, yeah, certainly. We're always working on R&D. So we're one of the companies that they're leader in this field, and we continue to be the leaders because we do R&D. And right now, we're working on an ongoing R&D project with the Department of Highways in Canada, the University of Waterloo, and this has developed a national specification for the use of cellular concrete as a best underlaying material for any roads or highways that cross weak and unstable soils. We already do that now, but they're now trying to prove that out through a research study that we've been working on for the next 3 years. That's just one of the things that we're working on so that will benefit our market for the future. But we're also looking at using CO2 in our material to make it stronger. We're using other environmentally friendly additives, including things that will replace fly ash to make our material better and stronger and more environmentally friendly. So yes, we're always working in that space. We're not working with any development partners right now, except companies that are involved in those spaces. And I can't mention them right now because we're in the process of entering into agreements with those companies. But they are in the process, of course, one of which is working with CO2 used in cellular concrete.
Outstanding. Okay, so we've got a little bit of insight into that, and obviously I know you mentioned some things that we can't really discuss right now, but we will be discussing in the future. We're certainly looking forward to that. Take us through maybe not just the next quarter, but also Q1 of 2022, to the extent that you can speak on it. Obviously, there are things we're not going to be able to discuss right now, but what are some things that our audience and retail investors as a whole should have on their radar for CEMATRIX? What are some things that we might be looking for on the horizon?
Well, we're going to have a fairly strong fourth quarter. Okay. And it's not going to be as strong as it would have been in the COVID situation. We've had a lot of projects delayed. One of the large projects I mentioned earlier that we landed, that's actually in North Carolina, was supposed to start this past spring. It won't start until next spring. They've been delayed because of the COVID situation. But what we're seeing right now is that 2022 will likely be a big breakout year for us, where a lot of these projects that have been delayed are going to go into the ground. Now, we're a seasonal business, so first quarter is always normally slow. So you really have to wait to see the entire year, because the main part of our business, because we are seasonal in nature, is that our sales come in the last two quarters of the year mostly, some in the second quarter, but the first quarter is generally slower. Now, we're looking to reduce the effect of the seasonality of our business by expanding into the southern U.S., where seasonality is less of an issue. And so in the future, in 2023 and beyond, we'll probably see less of a seasonal nature effect in our business.
Got it. And speaking of expanding, obviously, into the southern U.S., it sounds like we have somebody semi-local, but they asked if you guys are present in the Detroit or the Denver metro area as well. Do you guys have any presence in that kind of the country?
We don't have any people presence, but we do sell into that region, and we sell into the entire U.S. In fact, we do projects, and we got a project coming up in Houston early in the new year. So even though we don't have a presence there from a people perspective or a physical presence with an equipment perspective, we're driving all over the country because we're completely mobile to do projects. So we're selling all over the U.S. and Canada, including the Denver region.
Got it. Okay, last question for you, Jeff, as we draw close on time here. I want to dig below it a little bit. We obviously went through your whole presentation just now, but talk to us really quickly below the numbers about what you're personally most excited about heading into Q4, heading into 2022. We've had a crazy year. We've been through the era of COVID, but what's one thing you would leave investors with from an investor perspective? What's really exciting on the horizon for CEMATRIX?
There's a lot of exciting things. But what we think, I think the most exciting is something that I just mentioned, is the fact that 2022 looks like everything's all going to come together. All of what we've been talking about is going to start to be realized. These projects that we have in the backlog are going to start to go into the ground. And we're seeing the market grow even more than I expected ever, even since the beginning of the company, in all areas. Right from, our business where we started in the installation of shallow utilities and under buildings, to these big geotechnical projects and big tunnel projects right across North America. And then we're seeing interest right across the world too. So internationally, we're looking at expansion as well. Probably not in 2022, but 2023 and beyond. In particular, Lafarge is very interested in taking us internationally with them, because they get more involved in P3 type projects and construction projects internationally, more so than they do in the North American region.
Outstanding. Jeff Kendrick, the CEO of CEMATRIX. It's been fantastic having you on, going through your presentation. We can't wait to have you back. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and have a great day. Thank you.